Welcome to Key Conversations, where we talk about all the things to inspire and motivate you to create a sustainable and fulfilling music career. This season is season 4. I'm so excited. And in this season, I will be talking with you and a few guests, but mostly with you about how to release new music. We are going to be following my journey in releasing a new record. So I am currently releasing my 5th record, and this first episode of this season is just going to tell you my story. And the reason I'm telling you my story is to inspire you to think about what is your story. If you know the why behind why you're recording a record, why you want to put your music out there, you're going to be able to communicate that very clearly to your fans and friends and family, and thus have bigger and better results for the record. So I'm going to share my story, but really I'm sharing it so that you can get some context for this whole season, but you can also apply it to yourself and how do you tell your story. So I basically asked myself, why did I record this record? And that's what I want to answer today. So thank you for being here. I am very, very excited that to be back in Key Conversations, and this season is going to be really exciting. It's going to be kind of a mystery. It's sort of a make your own ending kind of thing, except I'm the one in charge. So that's kind of fun, right? And that's how all of our careers are. And I think we have more power than we think we do. So hopefully you will enjoy this podcast, and thank you so much for being here. So the story starts with a year and a half ago, I applied to a bunch of different composer residencies. I thought it would be cool to do that. Also, I was kind of avoiding my husband. I was like, how can I get away and have it look like I was getting away? Let's be real, y'all. I'm going to be super vulnerable and say all the things that are real. No hiding truths. So turns out I applied to 10. I got into 2, really fun. One of them was in upstate New York, like an hour and a half north of where I live. That was for October, a week long in a little artist commune hippie thing. Super fun. The other one was a 2-week residency in Greece. What? In the summer. What? So I was like, yeah, this is happening. So I had no intention of recording a record in the middle of a half-abandoned mountain town in Greece. But when I got there and I realized I was one of 2 musicians there, I ended up, I guess it was 3 musicians. 2 of them there were a couple and they were working on the same project. The rest of the people there were artists, photographers, filmmakers, choreographers, like just amazing people. And it was just a coincidence. They were all women. So it was a very supportive, really interesting place to be. But when I got there, I had a studio to myself, and it was in a newly renovated, it was like this little mountain town. So you drive up, and it's in Crete. So you have to take a ferry. It's like a whole day. I was like, all right, I'm going to definitely have to ride a goat to get up here. No, I didn't ride a goat. That's not a thing that people do. And I get to this little town, and they drive me up to the bottom, and they're like, cool, there's the town. You don't drive through the town. You park at the bottom or you park at the top of the mountain. So I parked at the bottom. They let me out, and I'm walking through, and it's just abandoned stone buildings built into the mountain. And then there would be this beautiful villa or this little doorway that was just redone. It was gorgeous and would go into this house. So some people from Italy and Germany were coming in, and they were redoing some of these abandoned houses. So the room that I got was this sort of half stone room with a grand piano in it. And it was a beautiful, well-tuned grand piano. And that was my room to work in. And I played the piano, and I heard this reverb. It was just echoey, so beautiful. And I was like, you know what, I could play something here and I could record. And honestly, I brought this microphone. If you're watching on the YouTube, it's a little mic, Apogee i96 mic, a couple $100 mic. It's a great little travel mic. It has been with me to France, to Germany, and now to Greece. And I took it just to record some ideas, maybe do some demos. I had no intention of recording a real record. But when I sat in this room and I started plunking around on the piano, I realized that anything I recorded, I would never be able to recreate the sound of that room. And I was like, maybe this is the time to do this piano record. I've been playing the piano since I was 2 years old. I always considered myself a musician, but never really a piano player. Not like my dad. My dad, who passed away 7 years ago, was one of those guys that could sit down, didn't really know where middle C was, but could play anything he heard. Like, we hate those people, right? No, I mean, I loved him so much, right? I was not that kind of musician. I had to study a lot. I really had to like learn music. And while I loved playing the piano, I was classically trained. I couldn't do jazz. I wasn't great at improvising. It made me sweat when my band was like, let's just jam on the jamming. Like it's like a 4-letter word to me. So I just sat there and I let myself improvise a little bit, knowing that there were no stakes. And it was very cool. It was a very cool feeling. Another part of this backstory that I need to tell you before I connect to why I decided to actually record a record there was I have struggled with anxiety for over a decade. I had a couple panic attacks when I was a kid. I didn't know that that's what they were at the time. And then it did in my early 20s, and then like 29 and 30 hit, and it would like really went bananas. Like I would be out for days. Like I actually thought I had a problem. I went to all these different doctors because it's very physical for me. When I have a panic attack, it's like a big release. My body, it acts like I have like food poisoning basically. And it takes a lot to recover from. And I went to all these doctors, and finally an endocrinologist who put a camera down my throat and was trying to see all the things going on in my stomach. He was like, you have a little acid reflux, but you're basically fine. And he said to me, he's like, what's going on in your life? And he was the first doctor, even after I saw all these holistic people, that actually introduced me to the idea of anxiety. So that was, when I first started really suffering from that, it was over 10 years ago. And it was, I think my anxiety ultimately wanted me to be safe. And here I was in the music industry. I had gotten fired from a dream job, and now I was on my own playing gigs, and it was very unpredictable. I was dating a mountain guide with a very unpredictable lifestyle who I ended up marrying. I have a big thing about not being bored. So of course I choose these two very tumultuous sort of unpredictable lifestyle things to include in my life. And I ended up really struggling. I had panic attacks probably once a month for many years. And then my father passed away, and I stopped having anxiety attacks. I just cried for a year straight. So that was fun. My poor husband. It was the first year of our marriage. But then they started to come back. And I thought maybe they were related to being married and not wanting that. And maybe I thought it was related to finances and having to overcome some things there. So I was constantly looking to grow. I was very into personal development. I had gotten 750 hours of career coaching training because once I started being asked to speak at music conferences, I wanted to be more effective at answering musicians' questions. Like, what should I do with my career now? My answer was always like, well, this is what I did. But there's hundreds of ways to go about having a fulfilling career. And I wanted to really listen for the gold and listen for what was blocking them. So I got training as a career coach. I love personal development. I love growth. I really value growth and the willingness to grow. So that being said, I started reading a lot. By the time I hit 36, I was like, you know what? Enough with this suffering. I'm going to start looking into what it is I'm actually dealing with here. What's the amygdala? Why is this fight or flight thing happening when I just have a thought? Like, how is that kicking in? There's no tigers around me. I really started to look at, okay, let's start a gratitude practice. I looked at the fact that I didn't have a routine, and that maybe I am a being that requires a routine to feel stable, even if I'm creating the routine myself. It's not going into a day job and being told what to do. So 2 years ago, actually, I can check my app. 560 days ago, as of today, I started meditating. I am on day 560, 2 months into a daily meditation routine. I would do a minimum of 5 minutes a day. I've done up to 1 hour for 560 days straight, 2 months into meditating regularly every single day. I had my last panic attack. I have not had a panic attack since. So I realized there was something really powerful about this meditation, about seeing myself, about knowing myself. And I'm not a woo-woo. Like, I have a very hard time sitting still. Yoga is very hard for me. I would much rather go for a run or kayaking. I was on a crew team in college. I tend to be active. I tend to have active energy. You hear how fast I'm talking, right? So this was a tricky thing for me, but I saw the value in it. I saw the value in having a gratitude practice. I saw the value in having something to do right when I wake up, and to sort of create my day and to set some intentions. I started listening and looking for music that could help because I respond very strongly to music. It's such an emotional, amazing tool, which is probably why a lot of us do this music creation thing. And a lot of the meditation music I found was either like very drony, kind of like would let my thoughts wander back to my grocery list, or it would put me to sleep. Or it was like very happy. It was almost childish and it felt cheesy. I couldn't find anything that was like, all right, I'm feeling a little anxious. I feel something coming on. Meet me where I am emotionally, and then let's go on a journey. So maybe this, like, I would have loved to listen to something that was sort of minor to start and then took me to a major key, if you want to get techie music with it, or music theory with it. I was thinking like, maybe I could do this on piano, but I don't want to like sit down and write piano music. That's not my thing. I love writing lyrics. I love using my voice. I write for choirs. I really love, all my pop stuff that I'd done. My first 4 records were all in the pop category, or singer-songwriter category. So I was like, well, that's just not my thing anymore. It's not my thing to write piano music, but that's what I did between the ages of 5 and 13. All I did was write piano music. And I wrote my essay about why my piano music was so dark. My college essay to get into Cornell University was about writing dark piano music when I was one of the happiest people I knew. So my theory in my college essay was like, well, anything that is dark that enters me, it gets out through music. So that allows me to let the happiness show up. It's kind of brilliant when you think about it, right? So I kind of remembered that, I used to write piano music all the time. But maybe there's another way to do it. And maybe there's a way to bring in my voice. So now we fast forward to Greece. So it's been on my mind for a few years that maybe there's a piano record inside me somewhere. And I just didn't know what it looked like. And I didn't really want to explore it. So I'm in Greece. I have this piano. I have 2 weeks, 100% to myself. The Wi-Fi was out. It was basically like me, some goats, and this record. And I realized that it was a record. And that I sat down on day 2 and I started recording some of the stuff I wrote. And I realized that maybe I could reverse the piano and create some other sounds. I could pluck the piano strings of this grand piano and create like a reverse cello sound. I could do some humming. I could create some textures with my voice. I even started doing some like high stuff. I'm like a tenor. I've got a really low voice, but I was playing with my higher range. It was funny. I did something like that. And then all the stray dogs in Greece started barking. So I'd have to I would sing something and then they would start barking and I'd have to turn the mic off and I'd wait 5 minutes until they stopped barking. And then I'd record another thing. They'd all start barking. I'm like, it's not that bad, you guys. Come on. So there we go. So what I did is I would recorded this record and then I would record in the evening because the cicadas were so loud in the daytime, these cricket sounds, and they were so loud that my mic was picking them up. So I would record at night while everyone else was eating dinner. It was quiet and the dogs were sleeping. And then the next day in the daytime, I would edit and I would take the 2 to 3 minutes of what I recorded and I would reverse the audio. I would add some delays. I would do some arpeggios. I would do some stuff in Logic. And then I would create the composition, the 6-minute composition. And I realized I wanted to create 10 6-minute pieces that would take you on a journey from wherever you were, from one emotion to another. And each one would have a theme, like releasing negativity, releasing anxiety, attracting love, attracting abundance. So I had a theme for each of these 10 pieces. And I ended up writing this record in 2 weeks and editing it. So I left with 10 6-minute pieces. And then when I got home, I took a month to finish my musical that I was co-writing with someone. And then that went up with a cast and crew of 30 people. And we had a 3-day run of that, which was amazing. We had hundreds of people watch this musical. And I really stepped away from this record. I was like, okay, that was a fun project. And then October came and it was just calling me. It was like, sit down and edit it. So that is when my residency in upstate New York came. And I went to upstate New York and I had a room to myself. I had this big art studio, it was all artists. So I was, again, the only composer there. And I brought 3 different sets of high quality headphones. And I was like, I'm going to mix this thing here. I'm going to edit and mix it myself. And I am not a mixer. I have done enough, internships in recording studios and commercial work. And I've mixed my own commercials and things like that, but I never had mixed my own album. And because this didn't have like a lead vocal, I felt like, all right, let's see if it's something I can do. And it ended up being part of the composing process. So I mixed this record, upstate New York, and then it was go time. Time to say, all right, I am releasing a record. I'm going to release it early in 2020 because I just like the number 2020. and I'm going to give myself time to do it the right way. And I'm going to document my process and take videos along the way. Anytime I copyright something, anytime I figure out my ISRC code, and I have all these videos and I'm really excited to share them with you. And that is the story of how I created my record. The title of the record is called Luminary. January 1st of 2019, I create a word of the year that inspires me, something that can take me through the whole year. And I chose, the year before was shine. And I don't think it really was a shining year. I was still building. Shine is something, it's like, okay, now I'm done building and I'm ready to shine. And I didn't want to have the same word twice. So I just whipped out a thesaurus and looked at other words for shine. And I found luminary. And it's really cool because it means to be the source of light in darkness, which I loved. I was like, oh, I worked through a lot of problems this year and I found my own happiness, and I can be the source of my own light, my own happiness in darkness. It also means a celestial being, like a moon or stars. And I definitely have like a sky thing. I always have. So it was really cool to put that into a word. And then the third definition is someone who is a leader in her field. And I thought that was really applicable to everything I'm doing or wanting to do for musicians that I wish I had. So it just felt like a word that really stuck. And I ended up Googling some companies. I was like, what are companies that are called Luminary? And I found this amazing female co-working space in New York City that has become like my magic. It's like the Bermuda Triangle of productivity. Like I get so much done there. And so this word really carried me through the whole year to be someone who shows up as a light. So because all the music was just my voice and a piano, and I did have a bell, but I mixed it up and did all this stuff. It almost sounds like an electronic record, or there might be cellos in it or something, but really the source of the music is so simple and so raw and so organic. And it really just followed that whole thought of I am the source of my own light. So that is my story of Luminary. The next episode, I'm going to start to talk about, we're going to get into the nitty gritties of this record release process, and you're going to be able to have some actionable items. But I just wanted to share this story so that you were really clear on why I was creating this record. And then also think about, for you, what's your story? So now for press purposes, I'm having a field day saying, hey, have you talked to many, I used to be a scuba diver for the government. That was my first job out of college. So I say, have you talked to any scuba divers turned commercial composers turned, panic attack victims turned into meditation music composers? Because if not, I've got a conversation for you. I wrote this music in a half abandoned town in Greece, and now it is featured on one of the biggest meditation apps in the world called Simple Habit. True story. That happened, but I'll talk about the promo at a later date. So knowing your story allows you a lot of freedom and the earlier you know it, and the earlier you can start saying it out loud and telling it is really great. I would encourage you to go find the Facebook group In the Key of Success, which is a free group to be in for anyone that's sort of in my world, and tell your story. Get feedback on how effective it is. Is it boring? Is it interesting? Are people latching onto it? So go find that In the Key of Success Facebook group. If you want to hear the music from my record, go to IamAluminary.com. That is the website I created for the record. And no, you don't need to create a new website for your record. I will explain why I did that in a later episode. Go to IamAluminary.com. If you want to help this get to the charts, I would appreciate your order there. If you're willing to and able to save it on Spotify or to order it on Bandcamp or iTunes or Amazon, that would be a huge help. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I'm so excited. So thanks for being here.